Hi guys, Trent Clark here from MTG Grinders. Just having a chat. Pre-release last night. Battle for Zendikar came out and everyone was hyped about the new expedition lands. We had one guy open up an overgrown tube. Looks pretty gas, actually, looks really good. Yeah, pretty interesting format. We were not given the allocated amount of time to set our decks out and actually deck build like adequately, so everyone on our end was a little rushed, but decks, yeah, it was very interesting. I did notice that the aggressive decks, although they came out rather quickly, kind of felt like maybe they couldn't get the job done. A lot of the weaker bodies, like the 1/2s and the 2/2s, just got very quickly outweighed by the mid-costed Eldrazi's. And obviously, like, with the big bombs, like Breaker of Armies and things like that, just couldn't blow a game right open. Me personally, and I ended up going blue-black and then splashing white for a Smite the Monstrous and a treat to Emeria. Treat the Emeria is a 4-cost 3/1 white enchantment with landfall. Whenever land, you can either put a 1/1 core ally on the battlefield, or creature you control get +1/+1. I was really happy with the decision. Actually, the splash was quite good. I ran 18 land, and I ran 3 planes as well, which it helped out a little bit. Probably could have went to a 4th, as I had the Sunken Hollow, which helped a considerable amount. But I just played the 3 planes, and it seemed really good. I only played 3 rounds. By the time I finished the 3rd round, it was 3:30 in the morning, and I'd woken up at 4 AM the day before, so decided to give the last round a miss. But yeah, it was actually really interesting. Really looking forward to sitting down and really being able to open the letter for Battle for Zendikar sealed as we go into GP Sydney coming up, golly, in about 2 weeks. So a lot of deciphering and a lot of letter opening to come with Battle for Zendikar sealed. Overall, it's a pretty interesting set. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed playing with it last night. One of my good mates, Alan Zane, we paired up in game 3, and he just said it's like a breath of fresh air, this format, as opposed to just drafting Origins, which was so linear and so direct. You kind of get thrown into this really, really left kind of field deck building time, where you just got everything seems so powerful, and every card is not dead. It didn't seem like there was a lot of dead cards. Like, when I say dead cards, yes, they're like Destroy the Evidence or Search the City, the Great Aurora, cards like that are just very much unplayable. Doesn't seem to be too many of them. Obviously, there's the weaker ended cards, like you've got cards like your 7/7 for 7 Eldrazi that you can gain 5 life, and like cards like that, they're okay, but they're not great. But you can still play them. Like you still need a fatty, you know. If you really need a fatty, then I suppose you can just jam that kind of guy. But you can't jam a card like Search the City or Destroy the Evidence. So yeah, it was really, really interesting. Just all last night, watching the interaction between people, understanding how people were playing their decks. I think it really brought to light as well a lot of how people like to play. Me as a limited person, I like to just try and make the right decision, like in a controlling aspect. So I'm not generally trying to push the tempo and kill my opponent by going 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop. Whereas it seems like, obviously a couple other people last night, that definitely seemed their jam. And I think the deck building really, really is resplendent of that, as I ended up obviously in the pseudo Esper color, which is my suited color, especially for for Origins Limited, I drafted a heck of a lot of blue. I always found myself just sitting in blue, and I just never knew for the life of me why, but I think it just comes back to the type of player that I am. And I think that Battle for Zendikar will award that kind of stoic ability to stick to your strengths in the drafting process. Obviously, they've made, like, there's a lot of different interactions and synergies, but yeah, being able to stick to a synergy early on in a draft and stick with it, play to your strengths, could be quite a good thing for Battle for Zendikar. I did have the pleasure of playing against Omnath, Locust of Rage. Card is pretty insane, to say the least. I ended up getting there against it, but the card was very good. He seemed very strong. And then in round 2, I had the pleasantries of being played a creature against in turn 1, in turn 2, and turn 3 on the draw. And then my opponent on turn 10 curved out very, very well and played a promo Ulamog, Ceaseless Hunger. That really hurt, and I was actually winning the game at that stage, but right up until that happened. So that wasn't fun at all. We conceded that. And then game 2, I developed a pretty aggressive board. I had a couple of bears and allies, synergies, and things like that. A couple of 2/3s and the like. And on turn 4, he plays Gideon, ally of Zendikar. So this guy had Ulamog, Gideon, ally of Zendikar, and the 3/4/4 haste ally warrior or whatever he is. Man, his deck was gas, and he ended up slaying me in the last round. Very close, actually. He had to draw a specific card in the end, I'm pretty sure, and he did. Mind you, in game 3, he did not see any of his rock bombs, so it was a lot closer. Yeah, that was pretty sweet. And in round 3 against Alan, I had the pleasure of playing against the bad Consecrated Sphinx, the 5/7 for 6, and he's pretty gassed too. But yeah, it really seemed interesting. Like, a lot of powerful cards, like a lot of different powerful cards. So not in the ways of Top and Freeblade, where you're just trying to draft as many Top and Freeblades as you can, and there's a lot of dead rares and a lot of like just chaff. It seemed like a lot of rares were getting played and doing well. Like, I seen this is Renewal doing very well. This is Renewal into Omnath seemed like brilliant. Oh, sorry, Omnath into this is Renewal. It's pretty gas. 3 land, 15 power across 3 bodies and 7 life. Yeah, okay, sure. Why not? But yeah, Battle for Zendikar seems really good in the shake-up for Limited. When it comes to Standard, however, I'm not entirely sure as to how well it's going to sit. The power creep, like how do I put it? The power level of the Standard has just dropped significantly. Frank Lepore did his Magic Minute, I think it was the day before yesterday, and he did point out, like, it's very obvious, but it's very true. With the disappearance of the last block set and the M15, we have lost over 1,000 Magic cards in Standard. That's a shitload of Magic cards. Like, that's a lot of decisions, and a lot of them are very strong. I mean, we've lost cards like Modern and Legacy Staples of Thoughtseize, Standard Powerhouse Courser of Crufix, Goblin Rabble Master, Premier Removal Spell like Hero's Downfall, and we've replaced these cards with nothing, very little. I think the power creep has been very much tapered back in the new set, and especially its impact on Standard. The big Eldrazi's that we're all like kind of excited to see and jam into our decks as they break games wide open in our limited formats, aren't going to see very much or very at all play in constructed standard decks. A lot of the cards are just too clunky, they don't do enough. I mean, you'll never see Breaker of Armies or the 7/7 of the game's 5 life. You're never going to see those guys in tier 1 competitive lists. These cards are just not as strong as what we had. And it's probably fair because, let's be honest, Standard was pretty insane. Like, the strength level of Standard was insane. Decks that could go, like, Abzan aggro decks that just go Lion Witch Wardrobe, just win on the spot. Decks that could just steal games with Goblin Rabble Master. Hero's Downfall was just, like, we were blessed with so many good cards. I mean, Thoughtseize. We were very lucky as Standard players to have access to all these incredible synergistic cards. It's like a few years ago when we were blessed with Wormcoil Legend and Primetime. The Scars of Mirrodin block. The power levels towards the end of those sets were insane, and Standard in pre-Dragons of Tarkir was very much like that. But I do believe that Dragons of Tarkir will rule the Standard meta for quite some time. And I mean, that might just be put back to the fact that Siege Runner was a real card, but there's a lot of other factors. There's a lot of other cards in Dragons of Tarkir, like, namely the Dragons, the Elder Dragons, and not even the Elder Dragons, cards like Kolaghan, the Storm's Fury. These cards are just obnoxious. Like, these cards are so strong. And, I mean, what did we get from Zendikar that really pushes the letter of power? I mean, okay, so you've got Gideon, ally of Zendikar, arguably one of the best planeswalkers printed in a long time. Patrick Chapin spent 15 to 20 minutes talking about how good and how simple, he made it sound so simple, but how good Gideon, ally of Zendikar actually is. And he is absurd. Well, I was lucky enough last night to have thrown together a future Standard deck. It was just like a Mardu Dragons list, kind of. But, yeah, it really missed. Like, I was playing against Siege Rhino deck with Bring to Light. Bring to Light, 5-cost sorcery with Converge. Set your library for an instant, sorcery, or creature card with converted mana cost X to the number of mana colors spent to cast this card. So, hi, I'm going to play 4 Siege Rhinos, and I'm going to play 4 Bring to Light to get back 4 Siege Rhinos. That's pretty much what it was. And it was actually really good. But, being on the draw against Abzan, when my opponent just taps out for like a turn 4 Siege Rhino, I really felt like being able to, say, go Crackling Doom or remove your Siege Rhino and then not play a 4-powered spell, so like a Thunderbreak Regent, a Butcher of the Horde, was great because, or would have been great because, what was I going to say? Just because Bring to Light would be able to get Languish. And Languish is very, very good against the list that I'm running at the moment, which is obviously a problem, but it's something we can obviously deal with. And Gideon, ally of Zendikar, helps us do that. And I noticed last night, like, we played a couple of games, and I think I was winning more than I was losing, but there was like a couple of times where I was like, man, like, play Hordling Outburst, and my opponent goes go, and I just do not want to resolve my Thunderbreak Regent. I do not want to resolve my Butcher of the Horde. I'm just like, play Gideon, ally of Zendikar, make a 2/2, pass the turn. And my opponent's just like, well, I can't do anything about that because Languish is getting one card. It's getting card advantage generated from ally of Zendikar, and it's getting the Hordling Outburst, which is Hordling Outburst, man. Like, what more do you want? you're happy to get rid of those tokens, but you still have Gideon allied Zendikar as opposed to Thunderbreak Regent in the bin. So I did notice that kind of thing last night, like the power level of where Gideon allied Zendikar could sit in some decks. And it was also very similar to that of Kiora. I've been messing around a little bit with Kiora, and I think that card could be, I will say could be, not is, but, well, it is a very powerful Magic card. I mean, all Mythic Rares are obviously very powerful Magic cards. It just depends on where they sit in the format and what cards warp around them. But I think Kiora could be maybe the sleeper of the set for power level. There is not a huge amount of talk for her, but the interesting ability is her neg 2 can actually fetch up 2 cards if you're lucky enough, buying creatures and lands. And obviously a +1 is fantastic. Being able to ramp up, like outvalue your opponent just on pure activations, getting extra land and untapping guys for blockers and things. This is a very interesting Magic card. Yeah, I think she's really strong. I'd be very interested to see as to where Kiora sits and where the standard metagame winds up. It'll be interesting over the next couple of weeks to see what happens. I'm not sure what format the Pro Tour is for Battle for Zendikar. I'm not even going to try and quote it because I'm just really not sure. But yeah, it'll be really eye-opening actually, because like I said, Standard was really I mean, me as a player, I really enjoyed Standard over the last couple of months. I've really put a lot of time and effort into it, or I feel like I have, as much as I've been able to outside of personal work and all that kind of jibber-jabber that goes with it. And it's been a blessing to be able to play with so many cards, so many powerful cards. You know, cards like Siege Rhino and stuff, whatever. But actual, like, other interesting cards, like being able to try and beat Siege Rhino. But that's another interesting question is, now can decks beat Siege Rhino? Going to the WMCQ and just sitting on the top tables and hearing about how obnoxious and how busted Siege Rhino is as a card, just as a card. Some of the best players in Australia just saying, oh yeah, Siege Rhino, well, that's a fun Magic card, you know, it's not overpowered or broken at all, like, let's reduce the mana cost to make it fair, things like that. And taking 1,000 cards away from us, well, not taking 1,000 cards away, but removing 1,000 cards from the pool based on the date that they came in, and leaving Siege Rhino here with us all, it could warrant a lot of pain for the standard meta over the next X months until Oath of the Gatekeepers or Oath of the Planeswalkers or whatever it is, the next set is released. Hopefully cards like Titan's Presence can really make an offensive front against the Siege Rhino, but time will tell. Time will definitely tell, and we'll obviously we just have to sit back and try and work it out ourselves until the Pro Tour. But even then, if it's not standard, well, I just suppose we just have to work it out ourselves. Which, in saying that, is one of the better things about sets like this, because obviously you've got your mythic rares, your planeswalkers, everybody's hyping up, you know, Gideon, or jamming their Ulamog into their decks and trying to build on cards like the blue black 1/1 Death Toucher, and all these cards are really sweet, but it's got to be hard to tell where the dust settles. PV, I think Owen Turtenwald as well, both said that you would want to be running Ataka Red, because the loss of Bile-Blight and Drown in Sorrow significantly weaken black decks' chances against those Goblin decks going wide. So maybe even Goblin Pile Driver can see a bit of time in the sun, and rightfully so. I mean, that card is insane. A couple of weeks after it was printed, a guy took down a GP in, I think it was actually. I can't really think about it right now. But took down the GP with goblins. Like goblins. Running 4 goblin pile drivers, baby. So, you know, there's plenty of room to grow in the standard format. Even the implications that this may have on modern as well. Alan was talking last night about Titan's presence in Tron. It's an interesting concept. I'm not sure about how much I'm on board with it, but it's definitely an interesting concept. Tron already plays its removal pieces. It's got its Pyroclasms and its Oblivion Stones and its Vugan and its Khan. It's plenty of ways to interact with your opponent. Maybe it doesn't need the Titan's presence because Titan's presence also relies on you actually having a creature. And from my understanding, Tron may play anywhere between 4 and 6 creatures in the main deck. So Titan's presence requiring colorless spell may just do absolutely nothing. Just rot in your hand until you can actually ancient stir it up, which by that stage it may be too late. But coming back to it, it could have a pretty interesting impact on modern. I would have to say that the impact would be on Tron, unless it's just like specific cards like Zada, Goblin Hedron, or Hedron Grinder, sorry, that just break the game open and like for specific decks and you can just win on the turn that they're cast. New busted ways of Magic the Gathering. I think the change will be in Tron, but yeah, I can't really think of too much more as to how it will impact modern. It'll be interesting to see though. But yeah, just a bit of food for thought, I suppose. I'm just driving through Melbourne at the moment, so on the way to Berwick, the other side. Fun times. But yeah, that'll do me for the time being. Trent Clark, MTG Grinders. I hope you listened to it. I hope you liked it. Yeah, feel free to listen to the next ones. Have a good day, nerds.